Welcome everyone to our Arts Academy podcast. I know it's weird to start doing these that we're not really in school, but we figured that we had a few questions before the end of the school year, and Dr. Gemmarella was good enough to pop on here to answer any of those questions that we've been getting through email. So, where do we want to start, Mr. Ricciardi? You want to start with the student fee? I think is the thing that we've had the most questions about, like how it's going to work and how this came up. And
yeah, I think the question that we should start with Dr. G is the student fee for the freshman, incoming freshman, is $600. Can you give the students a breakdown of that $600 and what that $600 for each of the incoming freshmen is used for?
Okay, sure. We'll start with the easy stuff. $50 goes into the class account, the scholarship account. 100 goes into testing fees, and I don't have the sheet of paper in front of me. Then there's the Chromebook that they pay for, and there's also the Chromebook warranty for 4 years.
So that brings us about $500, I believe. And then isn't there a scholarship? Is there still a scholarship fund also?
And the scholarship fund, yes.
Okay,
Scholarship fund also. Thank you. Yes.
So that's what the $600 that all the students pay coming into high tech pays for. What we talked about last week on last week's episode was that we have a couple of years in a row with budget cuts or a flat budget. It's not so much a budget cuts, but our budget has been flat, which has caused us to have to cut because of increased costs. And next year, next year it could get a little bit worse, which is why we talked about instilling this $350 fee, which will go directly to the students. And then could you break down what that $350 fee for rising sophomores, juniors, and seniors would go towards paying?
Okay, first of all, what you said was very accurate regarding budget cuts or the flatness of the state's payout to the schools. This year, it's compounded because of the pandemic. The state isn't collecting enough tax revenues or the tax revenues that they plan to be collecting. And the annual budget, which normally starts July 1st, will not start until possibly September 1st. So therein lies a compounded problem. We don't know how much money we're going to have in the budget, and therefore the suggestion at a principals meeting was that we assess each family $350 or each student $350. The $350 very simply goes toward the maintenance of the extracurricular activities that we have. Now, for those of you the students who remember, I know the teachers will remember quite well, we had to cut back on extracurricular payments this year. What I'm trying to do is reinstate those payments because some of the teachers who worked very hard all year received virtually nothing for the time that they spent with the students after school. The French club, the German club, the different competitions were cut back. So as a result, teachers were doing what they were doing with the students after school for less than what they were doing it the year before. The fee is to help reinstate those stipends, if you will, for the teachers and maintain the LEAP programs that we have after school, as well as transportation.
Now, in the past, I believe was how Explore 2000, Explore, they already had a student fee?
Explore 2000 had a $350 fee every year that they were in the middle school.
for all three grades. And then next year would be the first year that County Prep and High Tech would ask for this $350 fee. Both schools are doing the same thing
That is correct.
for rising
I-
sophomores, juniors, and seniors.
Right. The unfortunately, desperate times required desperate measures. The fee was a desperate attempt on our part to maintain the extracurricular activities that we've had in the past at reasonable stipends for the teachers that were participating in the program. Unfortunately, we have desperate times on the health and economic end of things, and there are a lot of parents that are out of work. There are a lot of parents who were sick because of COVID, and as a result, it's creating even more of a burden. And I understand that the principal in County Prep understands it. We all understand it. So, I'm not going to make a statement, obviously, that we're going to do away with it, but we do realize that there is an issue with that fee.
So to date, let's say that I know that there are some students who have already sent in the fee, I'm assuming.
Correct.
And then there are some students who are concerned, and their families that are concerned about the fee.
Right.
What are the family's options if financially at home they have issues? Should they reach out to guidance counselors? Should they reach out to supervisors? Is there a process for them to communicate the financial hardships?
Ms. Mendola and I are trying to put together a letter to send out. And it's very difficult because the letter has to address exactly what you have addressed. Is there a way to ease the pain, so to speak? Can there be a payment plan? If there is a payment plan, how do we go about collecting the money on a payment plan? Who tracks it? So these are things that we're trying to put together. I know, well, I shouldn't say I know, I believe that we can accept partial payments of the fee. Again, between now and September, depending upon how much is collected, will really dictate what extracurricular activities and after-school activities that we will be able to run.
Mr. Gongora, I think those are all the questions that I got to me. I don't know, Ms. Alvarez, Mr. Gongora, Mr. Buccio, if you guys have any questions that maybe should also be addressed that came directly to you.
Not about that fee. I have underclassmen that want to know about yearbooks. If they ordered yearbooks, when would they be getting yearbooks?
That's a good question, Joe.
Okay. We have the yearbooks. The yearbooks were delivered. We have the yearbooks in our file room in the high school office. When we come back from break in July, an email will be going out stating that you can come and purchase the yearbook, purchase some yearbooks. We do have extras, or pick up the yearbooks that you have already paid for. So we do have them. We didn't forget about the kids. And obviously, we need to make sure that we get the yearbooks taken care of. There's also an issue with lockers. There's also an issue with book returns. They'll all be handled in July. The lockers will be emptied, very similar to the way we emptied the senior lockers. And there'll be specific days that the underclassmen could come in to pick up their belongings.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay.
Just off the top of your head, Joe, do you remember some of the programs that were canceled, especially from the Arts Academy? That if everybody chips in for this fee, that we could now run again for the next school year?
Well, if you look at in general, LEAP classes, the 4 credit classes that we run, would more than likely be one of the considerations to be canceled. The additional hours for performances would be canceled. My commitment to the Arts Academy, as well as the entire school, is that if we have to cut extracurricular activities or LEAP activities, it's going to be important. And my commitment to the students and to the parents is that we will not give up on the remediation classes. I think with the way the pandemic ran, we have students who will definitely need remediation after school. I will not penalize the students because of a financial issue. That I will be able to commit to. But if you want me to be specific as to what programs may be canceled, it's all going to depend upon how much participation each program had this year. So I'm not going to say I'm going to cut all the world language clubs first. You know, I'll ask the teachers who ran it last year, what was your weekly participation? What was your monthly participation? And then work it from there. You know, and believe me, I'm not going to be the only one to make that decision. I'm going to involve the teachers in charge. I'll also involve the supervisors and a guidance counselor from each area.
Mr. Bush, did you have any questions?
No, I was answering. I got an email about lockers, and then I got an email about when the summer work will be.
The only thing that I know is that summer readings for the language arts department, I believe, was sent out. That's the only summer homework that I know of. I know nothing was sent out for any of the AP courses at this point. And whether or not anything goes out, we're still in the process of scheduling, and those students that passed the diagnostics or got into a particular course will have to wait until the teachers get that information out. That's not something that we generate from the high school office.
And for all students and parents, Governor Murphy is supposed to make an announcement tomorrow about school reentry, and then we have a meeting scheduled next week as a follow-up to obviously his guidelines and recommendations. Dr. Gemarelli, do you want to say anything about that? Is there anything that maybe the parents and students could consider at this point before really knowing what Governor Murphy is going to say?
Well, again, this entire pandemic and the governor's attempt to open the economy back up safely is exactly what we've been discussing. Not officially, obviously. But I can assure you that the district will follow whatever guidelines the governor sets out. The district will also ensure that the students and staff are safe when they enter the building. What that will entail, obviously, a lot has to do with what the governor says tomorrow. But I'm sure that we'll have to social distance in some way, shape, or form. I'm sure masks will become part of the dress code, if you will. Taking temperatures supposedly as students enter the building is probably going to be one of the biggest issues that we have. One of the biggest issues that we have. Transportation. How do we get students to the building? And obviously that is going to take a lot of coordination from transportation, a lot of coordination from the nurse's office. Lunches. How do you socially distance when you have 400 students having lunch at the same time? So these are things that we have to look at. I know a superintendent wrote an article for one of the educational magazines. He came up with 91 questions that had to be answered before a school could safely open up. Now, whether it's 91 or 86 or 122, there are questions that we have to address to make sure our students and our staff remain safe. And obviously that's going to be a big part of the discussion.
Yeah, and any parents or students could Google search that article. It was 91 questions to
Yeah.
school if they want to see what that article was about. But yeah, it did get sent around, and it's a lot to think about. Definitely, is a
I'll
lot.
put the link in the comments.
There we go.
Good.
Do you guys have any other questions? Dr. Gemrell has been, gracious with his time. But if you guys don't have anything else, we'll let him go and maybe just talk about some other art stuff. Good to go.
Good.
Dr. G, we appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem. No, thank you. I'll be away next week, and obviously we'll close the week after, but if any questions come up that we haven't addressed that you can't respond to, please feel free to forward them to me.
Perfect. And then we could even address it on the podcast after that.
Very good.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys. Have a nice week and enjoy the
You
break.
too.
You too.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. So parents and students heard it right from the principal's mouth. Mr. Gongora, I didn't even update the our Google slideshow that we said that we were going to keep updating.
That's
was there
okay.
anything? Did you do anything?
It didn't. The biggest questions were about the student fee that Dr.
Okay.
Gemrell addressed. So we didn't really have too much else that we had to talk about, unless there was any news from school.
No, I mean
happenings.
the graduation, the virtual graduation was this morning. I didn't hear any complaints, so I hope that everybody was able to view it at 10 o'clock in a timely fashion. You guys are
Definitely-
smiling. Did you hear anything
It
or
definitely
not?
started right up at 10, so
Okay.
the timing wasn't bad. So
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I saw the video over the last 2 days. We were, making final arrangements for it and everything at school. And then again, I heard it went off at 10. I was watching it at 10, so it went off fine for me. Hopefully everybody was able to get to the link and it wasn't an issue. I didn't even look to see how many people viewed it at this point. Hopefully everybody was able to take a look at that. And then if anybody wants to, it's still on YouTube, so you can watch it again, or if you didn't get a chance to watch it at 10, you can watch it. There were scholarship announcements, there were award announcements, couple speeches from your classmates that you guys, seniors, chose. So, it was a nice video, and they kind of put it together as quickly as they could.
yeah, and I'll also put a copy of it in this channel as well.
Yeah, if anybody wants to watch it. Other than that, transcripts, Mr. Buccio, Ms. Alvarez, any update on transcripts for seniors?
We're sending them out as we speak. So I'm an
Yeah, we
app.
have to look through them to make sure there's no errors and
Yeah, and
It's just a
in
process.
terms, I just got 2 emails today about courses for next year. I'm not going to handle them here. We'll handle them individually. But for the most part, the schedule is coming along. We probably next week, we'll know exactly which one of the electives are going to run. Most of them have already been assigned. There are a few electives that got low enrollment, low registration, I should say. So they're not going to run. There will be a handful of electives, specifically rising juniors. So anybody who's a sophomore who's going to be a junior, who has expressed interest in not taking a third year of a language. All right, that's more or less the course that you'll be able to not take. You can drop that course and pick up one of the electives that we're going to have available for you. So Ms. Alvarez and Mr. Buccio will get a list of those electives. You guys can see them later in the summer. We'll probably send out an update that maybe you can contact your counselor and they can handle that, in a timely fashion. So I know a lot of students asked for junior electives, rising juniors, didn't want to take a third year of a language. Everybody is mandated to take 40 credits this year, but you will have another option for that last class junior year. Other than that, freshmen and sophomores are very full, so they won't have an opportunity to really take an elective. Anything else that we didn't address that we need to? Schedules. Governor Murphy will be on tomorrow with the beginning of a reentry plan.
Yeah, that's the big one to watch, especially as the state starts to issue guidance about what every school in the state can do and what they can't do, and what to expect. And it might change over the rest of the summer, but just to get an idea to start to get yourself ready for what you might see when you come back in September.
And that's the thing, I think, what we worry about, when we're sitting around the table trying to make decisions as to what school's going to look like in September. Every 2 weeks, I feel like my ideas are changing. So I thought that there was going to be a decent reentry plan where a lot of kids would be in the building. Now with all these spikes, I'm worried about what he's going to say tomorrow. I'm just not sure. It looks like the virus is spreading more as more things are opening. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I almost feel like it's a good thing if people get exposed to it and then get the antibodies. Obviously we don't want anyone, getting sick, and we don't want anybody, losing their life. But if our community is exposed to this, maybe it's a good thing to have antibodies. Maybe we can help other people if you're willing to donate, blood or whatever it is to help. I don't know.
It's tough to know what to think because nobody knows for sure, because this is such a new virus. Nobody knows for sure exactly what's going on. Some of the reports are conflicting, so it's tough to know who to believe. Just don't believe your uncle on Facebook. He probably is, talking out of somewhere.
Yeah, unless he's a doctor. Well, that's the thing. It's depending on what you hear on the news and what you hear in these press conferences, and then what the restrictions are. I honestly have no idea what to believe at this point.
Yeah,
it was getting better, and then it got worse, and then I don't even know.
My neighbor just got an antibody test.
So they had COVID?
She just wants to know if she had it.
She just wants to know.
So she gets her
my wife and I
results and
both got one. We had nothing in there.
Yeah.
So, well,
I'm curious.
I'm kind of curious. I'm curious not only because my wife works in the city. So up until March, when everybody was basically ordered to stay home, she was going to the city every day for work. So I'm sure that she was exposed sometime in February. Now that we kind of know it's been around for a few months, she's probably exposed sometime in January and February. Maybe she had it. She did have a cough back then. Maybe I got it and I just didn't show any symptoms. I don't know. But like Ms. Alvarez just said, I would like to know.
Yeah.
So.
Because then you kind of feel like, maybe you're a little safe out of the.
But then again,
that might not be true either. So it's tough.
And that's the thing. Can you get it a second time, right? If there's a second wave, can you get it a second time?
Version of it, like a different.
Well, they say it keeps mutating. So one of the theories now is that as it mutates, it may not be as deadly, and the symptoms may not be as bad. So I don't know. I'm just throwing out the theories that are going around. But that's about it. That's all I have. I was at school this week. I was at school for the seniors all 4 days. I know some of you guys were there. Also, Mr. Bush and Ms. Alvarez were there every day. I think Tony were there.
I was there twice. Yeah.
So things are happening around the building. We were able to get the orchestra shells out of the theater. I think I mentioned that on a previous podcast. Other things that we have going up in the black box, we have two projects that we're working on in the black box, and we're just waiting for financial approval at this point. So again, the financial issues are hitting everywhere. Things that we thought were just going to happen now may not happen, and we're kind of fighting for that at this point. So financially, I feel like over the next few years, this may get a little frustrating for us, at least for the next 2 years. If the economy comes back around, and as Dr. Giamarella just said, the tax collectors are able to, fund education the way that we need it funded to provide the students with what they need to be successful. Until that happens, we could be in for a frustrating year or two.
Yeah, and that's true all over the country. If you think about New Jersey as like a more of a in bigger terms, is that we're paying out so much in unemployment benefits. This is money that's coming from the state. People aren't working, so they're not paying their payroll taxes when you don't work. So we're paying out more, we're bringing in less, and so who's going to take that hit? It could be education, it could be different other parts of the state economy and state budget, but it's going to affect us more in different ways as we see how big of an impact this will have over the next 6 months, couple of years.
And again, we had a plan, right? The plan was to charge every family the $350 fee. unfortunately, because of the economic times, that I don't know what's going to happen with that at this point. So Dr. Gemmarella is going to address it. That's why he was here on the podcast earlier. And, hopefully we're able to provide everything that the students really want to experience when they come to High Tech High School. That's the goal.
Yep. So I don't think we have too much else left. I think it's a good place to wrap up, and keep an eye on Google Classroom. Pretty much the only thing is going to come through there is either stuff from Mr. Ricciardi or Mr. Buccio or Miss Alvarez, or something from me about the next episode of the podcast. Probably a couple weeks. Was that good?
Sorry, Mike, did we send out the brag sheets to the juniors? Have we done that yet?
I don't know if it came from Nermeen.
No, it would have come from us. We have to send it individually. I think that's something that we're going to be doing. Sorry to interrupt you, Tony.
I thought maybe she.
No,
that's
a very good thing for juniors to start working on over the summer when you have some free time. I know anybody who wants a recommendation from me, that's always what I ask for. Is I ask for your transcript and I ask for your brag sheet, just to get a little bit more info about like what you do besides math class, or how I see you in the office or stuff like that. So it's good that information is. And don't be shy. Don't be like, oh, I don't want to say that because it's not that big. Say anything that you think would set you apart from everybody else. So, we actually have a question. And High Tech, yes, is a public county school.
Public county school, vocational.
Yes.
And that's been part of the ongoing conversation. We're a vocational high school. Every county in New Jersey, there's 21 vocational high schools, and a lot of the recommendations that are being made by the state are for high schools that are more academic based, whereas we have dance studios, we have performing studios, we have a lot of labs, technical labs. We also have, if you move over to DFAB, you have a lot of labs that have heavy machinery and their security issues. Even to the point of talking about the machines and how we're going to disinfect the machines or the keyboards in classrooms. These are issues that I think affect us a whole lot more because every kid in our building takes a vocational class. It's actually the class you're in the majority of your time.
The most,
right?
Yeah, two periods a day.
So your English class is only 40 minutes, your history class is 40 minutes, math is 40 minutes. Your major, for the most part, for a lot of students in the building, it's 2 periods a day. So, but the answer to your question, yes, we are a public high school. All right.
Well, I'm happy we got one question. So
yeah. and Prinsky's here if we need him, but
I think we're gonna wrap up.
We're good. So guys, thank you. Enjoy your summer. The school year is officially over. Seniors graduated this morning, and now the tough work really starts for us, trying to figure out how to get everybody safely back into the building. So we'll be back next week with an update, and enjoy your break, and so enjoy your summer vacation.
Yep. Everybody stay safe. As usual, get outside, get some exercise, and enjoy the summer while it's here. Take it easy.
Yes, enjoy.
Habib.
Bye.
Bye.